much mistaken. This is our client.
Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
Well, are you Mr. Holmes?
Certainly.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, I have just had a most singular and unpleasant experience.
Really?
Yes, never in my life have I been subject to such embarrassment and been placed in such a position.
Please sit down, Mrs. Scott Eccles, my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson. Now, in the first place, may I ask why you have come to me at all?
Well, sir, it didn't appear to be a matter which concerned the police. Yet, when you've heard the facts, you must admit I couldn't just leave it where it was. Now, private detectives, they're a class with whom I have no sympathy.
Sit, Mr. Scott Eccles.
Well, nonetheless, having heard your name,
Right,
I decided...
Now, the second place, why did you not come to me at once?
What do you mean?
Well, it is now 2:15. A telegram was dispatched about 1. No one could glance at your toilet in the tower without seeing that your disturbance dates from the moment of your waking.
You're right, Mr. Holmes. Yes, I never gave a thought to my toilet. I was only too glad to get out of such a house. Oh, no, thank you. You see, I've been running round making inquiries before I came here. I called at the house agents, you know. Oh, yes, and they said that Mr. Garcia's rent was paid up all right, and that everything was in order in Wisteria Lodge.
Oh, no, come, sir. You know, you're like my friend Watson, who has the bad habit of telling his stories wrong end foremost. Now, please, arrange your thoughts and let me know in their due sequence exactly what those events are, which have sent you out, unbrushed and unkempt, with your dress boots and waistcoat buttoned awry, in search of advice and assistance.
Well, I'm a bachelor, and being of a sociable turn, I cultivate a large number of friends. At the table of one of them recently, I met a young fellow named Garcia, a pleasant chap of Spanish descent, connected in some way with the embassy. We discovered a common interest in cartography, or so I thought. That's the study of old maps. The plan was to retrace Surrey as Thomas Moore engraved it some 50 years ago. Well, as soon as I arrived yesterday evening, I knew something was wrong. The atmosphere of the place. The house was tumbled down, depressing. Garcia told me he had a wonderful cook, a half-breed he'd picked up on his travels. But the dinner, it was so ill-prepared and served with such bad grace that it was barely edible. I can assure you that there were many times in the course of the evening I wished I could have invented some excuse to leave. Well, the ruse is fascinating. John Ogilvy.
Across the heath, then?
Ah, no, it wasn't just the heath, man. It was all over the county. I say, are you feeling all right?
Yes, sorry. Luis, some more wine for our guest.
Yeah.
¿Qué pasa, Luis? Cálmate. ¿Qué te pasa? Escucha. Mira, ¿qué te pasa? Cálmate. Sí, está llamando la atención. Entonces, espera. Ahí viene algo, ya. Anda la puerta.
Are we expecting company? I would like a drink of that, if it's possible.
And he made no remark as to the contents of the note?
None. But from that moment, he gave up all pretense of conversation. He just sat there, smoking these endless cigarettes. About 11, I was going to get to bed. 2 hours later, he looked in at my door.
Did you ring?
Did I ring?
Ah, please, don't wake up. It's nearly 1 o'clock. Please go back to sleep. Good night.
And now I come to the amazing part of my tale. When I woke, it was broad daylight, nearly 9. I had particularly asked to be called at 8. So I was very much astonished at his forgetfulness.
I say, is anybody here? I'd like some hot water.
I rang for the servant. There was no response.
Somebody? I say, is there a servant available?
Oh, this is damnable. I went from room to room. All were deserted. Even my host's room. The bed had never been slept in.
Foreign host, foreign footman, foreign cook, all vanished in the night.
Your experience is, so far as I know, perfectly unique. Now, what else can you tell me?
Well, I was furious. I packed my bags, and I banged the front door behind me, and I set out for Isha. And then I called at Allen Brothers, the land agents, and found it was from them that the villa had been rented.
Rented?
Well, you see, I couldn't believe that they'd gone simply to make a fool of me. I thought, you know, it must be the rent. But I was wrong. See, the agent thanked me for my warning, but said that the rent had been paid in advance.
By the Spanish embassy, I imagine.
I called at the Spanish embassy. The man is unknown to them. They also asked my friend who introduced us, and he seemed to know less about Garcia than I did.
Now, this house. Wisteria Lodge. I wonder if it's still as you left it.